before we get started, let me just make one thing clear. I don't know if God or religion works exactly the way this show works, but I definitely know someone listens to your prayers. Why? Because my prayers were answered and Michael Bay is not doing Transformers 5. Cue title scene! Exorcist is a 2011 fantasy action anime that just recently wrapped up on Toonami, and I figured I wanted to talk about it because I had heard of this series as a popular shonen manga, but never really read it, and I had heard about the show before, and honestly it seemed a little bizarre. Not necessarily for what happens in it or some of the themes in it, but just kind of what's involved in it. Well, which is, let's start off with the story. Basically, the series follows Rin Akumura and his fraternal twin brother Yukio. And the idea is that these two boys were raised in a monastery with Catholic priests and monks and all that stuff for basically until they were 15, where basically naturally a big revelation came out. And this is unfortunately where I think things might make or break it for some people. What we find out is Rin and Yukio are the twin sons of Satan himself. Yeah, how many anime and manga out there actually involve Christianity or just have very heavy religious impact and themes in it? And I'm not going to lie, that didn't deter me from watching the show, but knowing what I know about Japan not being a very religious country, I was kind of curious how that would actually impact, especially in something which is supposed to be both action and more or less for teens. And I can say after watching it, it was alright. Yeah, definitely, I'll get to the problems in a minute, but basically let's start off with the strengths. Rin and Yukio. These two have a very well-set, well-established brotherly relationship. It's pretty typical. It's the usual. Rin is the tough. He's kind of, a punk bully, not really a bully, but always answers with his fists. And Yukio is the intelligent one, the one who's always been perfect, but not really a fighter. So because of this, you have this dynamic of one's living in the other's shadow and the other doesn't realize it type thing. And that was actually really well done, especially because the big thing here is that Rin is the one who actually has the power of Satan, if you want to call it that, with like blue flames, hence the name Blue Exorcist, and a cool sword and tails and pointy ears for some reason. So because of this, much of the action is done through Rin. So because of this, whenever Yukio does something, it usually feels very intelligent and very well executed. Because of this, these two have a very nice dynamic that is fortunately what makes up the majority of what goes into this show. And a lot of the other side characters are pretty good too. Characters you're not quite sure what side they're on, characters you seem like they're just going to be generic, but actually you kind of really come to enjoy by the end. And I gotta say, it really works for this show. And again, the biggest problem, I think, is that the world we're in doesn't really make sense. Like, 1 minute, like the first couple episodes, everything looks all normal and realistic, but then we go to the boarding school where this show takes place in called True Cross Academy, where it sort of feels like, does everyone know that there's demons and Satan is real and all that good stuff, or do they not? I don't know, I just felt like maybe it could have been illustrated better. Another problem I have, like I said before, is the way it uses the Christianity. I'm not going to go into my own personal beliefs, but basically this series kind of mixes some things up. They try to combine both Christianity and Western religious belief and thoughts on demons and things like that with Eastern theories and things. And that works for a lot of the series, it really does. The problem definitely comes in towards the end, and certain parts throughout, as you could sort of see why these two theologies don't mix well, and they don't really cause the series to stay cohesive, and everything kind of becomes a mess, and there's revelations that don't make sense, things that were rushed, things that I wish they would have elaborated on more. Animation-wise, the CGI, they try to put some CGI in here. It does not fit or work all that well. But overall, I gotta say, this is a fun show. The relationships work. The characters are enjoyable. The action is kick-ass. I will say Blue Exorcist is a 7 out of 10 on the action scale. Just a fun little show. Don't think about it too much. Don't let it get on your nerves if you have a problem with some of the way things are represented. It's a show that is very much so trying. And what do you think is trying? In the comment section below, give me your thoughts on anime that had good ideas, but maybe didn't go all out or as well with them as you were hoping. We all got a couple. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe because like I said, Michael Bay is not directing Transformers 5. Happy days are here!